Hello YouTube, hopefully you enjoyed that variety of shooting footage in the beginning of my M&P Pro Series Core. So I'll just start off by saying this is my favorite gun I own by far. If I were to have to sell everything and keep one, this would be the one I would keep. It's more fun than my 1911. It's more fun than my compact pistols, my other full-size ones. This is my favorite gun that I own, period. Over my shotguns and rifles too. I absolutely love this pistol, and everyone else who has shot it does too. At the range, it's rare to find someone that actually has an optic on a pistol. So when people see it, they're usually like, "Oh my God, I want to shoot that gun. That gun looks really cool." And then it takes them a little bit to get used to the optic, but then once they adjust, they're ready to rock and roll. So this pistol's seen thousands of rounds. The majority has been 40, and it did go with me to tactical response in Tennessee. I took tactical response fighting rifle at James Yeager's school, per se. He didn't teach our course, but I was there. And we did put about probably 200 or 300 rounds through our pistols because we did some transitions from pistol to rifle. And so this did go there with me. And while I had issues with my Bushmaster ACR, which I'll make a future video about, I had no issues with this one. It did not fail one time. It ran everything. And I also forgot to mention the majority of the ammo this has seen has been my own hand loads. It's probably seen, I don't know, maybe 10% or 5% of the ammo it's seen has been factory. Every single other round that has gone through this has been hand loads. Sometimes people that shoot it have run hand loads in it. And I'll talk more about the calibers and stuff in the future. But if you can tell how I said both, I do have a 9mm barrel as well. So I highly recommend this optic ready pistol to anyone. But with fairness to others, this is the only pistol with an optic I've fired. So I've taken this to competitions, taken it to the range, taken it with me to that course. I'll probably take some other courses with it. I do love that it has the optic, and I love the shootability of the M&P platform. So that's why I say this is the only optic ready one I've shot, because I know that FN has the FNP Tactical that actually comes with a threaded barrel too, which I hope M&P does in the future, or Smith & Wesson does in the future for their M&Ps, because the optic does make this suppressor ready, you know, and the tall sights also help too. So this would be suppressor ready. You can actually get a 5-inch threaded barrel from Storm Lake for any standard 5-inch M&P, so either their Pro Series or their 9L, and it'll fit in this one too. So you can get a threaded barrel for this, and I forgot to mention that actually is a pretty good point. This is suppressor ready. Let's see, it's great for teaching new shooters. Like I said though, they have to adjust to the optic, but the cool thing about it though is if they don't want to adjust to the optic, they can use the sights, because you can co-witness these sights through this RMR. So that's not with every optic. I think the Loophole Delta Point and like the Burris Fast Fire aren't short enough to co-witness. That's just one of the things about the Trijicon I like. It can be had in a 4 1/4 inch or a 5. So the 4 1/4 inch, like your standard M&Ps, that ends about right here, you can get it in that too. I wanted a 5-inch. If you had gotten it on a 4 1/4 and a 40 and bought a 40 9mm barrel, like I've said, with any M&P, if it's chambered in 40 and you get a 9mm barrel for it, it will fit. A factory Smith & Wesson 9mm barrel will fit. So use. I see it as competition, home defense, and you compare it to a standard M&P. If you wanted to carry this, you could. I don't see any purpose for carrying a 5-inch pistol. If you got a 4 1/4 inch, maybe, but I don't see why you wouldn't just carry the standard M&P, because it would come with a lot shorter sights than this. So my main uses I see is competition, recreation, and home defense. And if you wanted a duty gun that has an optic on it. How long does it take to get good with the optic? Well, it takes a little bit of time, but it's easier than you think. I have a lot of people ask me how long it's taken me to get good with the optic, because this is the first one I fired, but it doesn't take long to get used to. Like with a rifle, you can shoot with both your eyes open. Once the optic appears, I mean, it's just right there. You see the little green guy in there. Trust me, it's much bigger in person. It just looks small because I have it really close up to the camera. You can see it right there. That'd be more what you're looking at whenever you're actually shooting it. But it's pretty easy. Like a rifle, you're just not shouldering it. And if you ever lose that dot, if you're like, oh my God, where is it? Just line up your slide, line up those sights, and it'll pop right back up in that window. That's usually what I tell people. If they're like, oh, where's the dot? I say, line up the sights and it'll pop up. Oh, there it is. So rather than having to follow 3 separate points, so like, you know, 2 rear sight posts and 1 front, you only have to follow 1 reticle. The window's a bit small, but lining up the sights makes the reticle appear, like I said earlier. And the shooter can choose to use the co-witness sights through the optic if he wants. I guess the one downside of getting the core with the raised sights is that your aftermarket options are limited. I haven't seen, or I don't know if Trijicon has put out night sights yet. For me, I don't really care, because this has tritium vials in it. It's fiber optic and it has tritium. If you watch my M&P Core review, I talk about the RMR. This is the dual illuminated version. They also have an LED version that projects a red light, so that would also kind of work against getting night sights. Dawson Precision, who I have their amazing sights on my 1911, actually do make a flat rear, like a dotted rear or a fiber rear, and a flat front, a dotted front, or a fiber front. So if you did want to get new sights that are raised like this and are suppressor ready and can be seen through the optic, you can go with Dawson. And I love my sights on my 1911. So it's a quality company and they make fantastic sights. So is it faster than a pistol with irons? It depends on the person, but for me, yes. So when I'm firing rapid fire, like I said, you only have to follow one point. So when that thing's recoiling up, you see right when it comes down, boom, gets on target, you fire again. Right when it gets down on target, boom, fire again. It's kind of like landing that front post right up here between this rear post, but you're only following one point, like I said. So that's what makes follow-up shots so quick. And it's the same thing with shooting a red dot on a rifle. You're not trying to line up anything. You're not having to put a post through another. You're just looking for that one dot, and it's right there. And if you ever need a point of reference, you can always use the co-witness sights, or if your optic for some reason breaks, you do have sights to back it up, which is another thing I love about this pistol, how it's ready for that. Modifications and additions. I do have the Apex forward set sear and trigger. This is the aluminum version. The reason I say aluminum version is because of my M&P Compact. You see I have the polymer version, and that is also in my forward set sear installation video if you've watched that. So I do have the aluminum version in this one. Is it less comfortable than the polymer version? No, not really. To me, just having this trigger in general, whether it's polymer or it's aluminum, makes an absolutely insane difference. You would not believe how much easier it is to shoot, probably because that travel is so short and that reset is so short. I mean, there's just nothing to it. Well, I rave about Apex because they know the M&P very well. Has the trigger ever failed me before? No, it's never had any malfunction of any kind before. The trigger has always worked. This gun is just flawless. I mean, I really can't rave about it enough. You can see how enthusiastic I am about this gun, but it's really, really, really great. Yeah, like I said, the forward sets here makes it exceptionally easy to shoot, and the upper can mate with any M&P 9 or 40 full-size lower. So if you have a standard M&P and you buy the Pro Series Core and you want to shoot competition with one, or you want to carry one or whatever, you can actually swap out this lower. So when I've taught new shooters on my brother's M&P 9 standard size, I've actually been able to take this upper off and put his on this lower. So M&P 9 and 40 lowers are the same. The M&P 45 lower is not the same because it's bigger. They had to make the slide wider. So any M&P 9 or 40 full size or 5-inch lower will work on this and will work on any other M&P standard 4 1/4 or 5-inch. So that's just one thing about this platform I really like. Another thing I did is let's see, where is that? I painted it. I'm considering Cerakoting it because I think Cerakoting it would look really cool with this black optic on here and maybe like a flat dark earth or no green or something. I just think would look cool. But in your painting your guns video, you saw I did that. It really makes it stand out. I did it on both of these barrels too. You see the 9mm right there and the 40 right there. Obviously did it on my magazines too. You can see it. That's also in the video. Just a little customization, just another thing to make it my M&P and not just any old regular M&P. Although it being a Core with this trigger and this optic already kind of makes it mine. But I mean, what's to own a gun if you're not going to modify it? Let's be honest here. The RMR that I have has the 12.9 MOA green triangle. If you haven't seen that video already, I would probably get the 7 MOA amber dot if I had to do it again. Well, I'll just call it 13 MOA. The 13 MOA triangle is pretty good for close range, and it doesn't look that big right there, but when you extend your range to about 25 yards and about 30 yards, if you're shooting at an 8 or a 10-inch steel plate, it does make it a little bit tricky to connect because that optic is big. And I have it sighted in to be the tip of that triangle, not the center of it itself. But if I had to do it again, I'd probably get the 7 MOA amber dot. But if you've looked up the price on these RMRs, they're expensive, so I'm not just going to go out and buy it. It has never lost zero. I sighted it in one time. It has never lost zero. It's just exceptionally good. The window is small. That's fine. It has some small scratches on the front from ejected cases. Does it obscure your sights? No. Does it make it harder to see? No. I don't even know. Maybe you can see it right there in the center, like right at the tip of my finger here. When it's in the light, you see the little smudge there. Yeah, it's taken some cases coming out, but it's not like Trijicon didn't plan for that making this optic. They know that. It doesn't make it any harder to see through the window. The window is thick anyway. It's like a ½ inch piece of glass, and no, it doesn't hurt it at all. It is incredibly solid. It's a one big chunk of machined aluminum. Oh, I forgot to mention, 9mm cases hit the front of the window more often than the 40 cases for whatever reason. I guess because, I don't know, they're lighter and they don't eject as hard out the side or something. But for me, I've seen that. It has holes on either side to drain water, and it's mirrored on the front to prevent glare. So if you look at the side, you see a little opening there. That's if water happens to get in here. This is actually elevated backwards to where the water can roll out. Water can still pool up if it's like this, but if you have it upright to shoot, the water will roll out. And the glass is treated to bead water, so that won't be an issue. But one time shooting it, I did have some sweat drop in the window, and it did prevent me from shooting this accurately. What I should have done was transition to using the irons, but I was just doing a little run and gun, wasn't thinking about it, was trying to connect. If I can find some footage of it, I'll just show it right here while I'm talking away, and you can see when I got a little frustrated. But regardless, it does have those water drain holes, and it's mirrored on the front to prevent glare. The green one is mirrored kind of greenish blue. You can see how it kind of has a purple tint there. Yeah, it's great. It's good in the sunlight. The sunlight does make it a little bit brighter because it's fiber optic. It picks up the sun. I do have a USA, I say mag plate. I missed that there. It's a back plate from magplates.com. If you saw the back here, that American flag. Same thing on my M&P Compact. If you watched that update video, I have a USA shield on the back of it. I have two barrels. Both are factory M&P 5-inch barrels. Both have run great. The 9mm does have noticeably less recoil, so I can get faster follow-up shots. I haven't had to change the recoil spring, but I have noticed if you use really light factory rounds, like someone tried to run some Tula brass through mine, which is a really light 9mm round, it ejects well if you don't limp wrist, but if it's with a new shooter and they limp wrist a little bit, it can have some issues. But that's not really the gun, and if you wanted to, you could get another recoil spring, but I've run that recoil spring fine with my 9mm hand loads, which I load in like the mid-range. So it will run both of them with the same recoil spring. Would you conceal a gun with an optic? I'm not talking about a 5-inch. If this was a 4 1/4, I wouldn't, because the optic is large and takes space, and water could pull on the lens when but it will drain when it's upright. Like I said, if there's stuff like there's pocket lint or dust or water or sweat or anything, it can pool up in there and make it hard to see. I also don't like the fact that you have so much height over here. You might as well consider this an arc, because if you're trying to draw, all that stuff's going to want to hang up. Would I carry a pistol with an optic? No. Could you? If you want to. That's up to you. But for me, I don't really see it for that use. It's just a fun range gun, and everything else I said. Racking it is a little bit different to account for the optic. It still isn't difficult, but you have to take into account for it. So if you're used to racking, just whatever, you kind of have to grab the top of the optic like this to rack it. Or if you wanted to, you can actually use the optic to rack it. Like I've showed in other videos, this thing is strong enough. It's not going to hurt it. You can use that if you want. That actually makes it really good for one-handed manipulation. If you have to rack off a belt or something, using this is good. Like I said in the other video, you see the glass is recessed, especially at the top. So where you'll be making contact up here, it's not going to mess with that glass at all. It should be perfectly fine. One thing I did forget to mention, I do have the standard M&P backstrap here. This is from my brother's full-size M&P 9. You see it has standard texturing. The M&P Cores is textured. So if you want to run this, you can. This is the large one. I guess when I'm shooting it barehanded, I find this tears up my hand a little bit less. I just kind of like this one more for whatever reason. But a lot of people like the texture ones too. That is really your own mileage, whatever you want to do. Overall, highly recommend this gun. This is my favorite range gun, my personal workhorse, and I would absolutely, in a heartbeat, trust my life to this pistol. I really can't rave about it enough. It's just an incredible pistol. And I know I seem kind of like a Smith & Wesson fanboy, but I have yet to see my M&P Compact or my M&P Core let me down. So, I mean, I can be a fanboy if I've seen that these things run tons of rounds. So hopefully this wasn't too long-winded. If you have any other questions, just post in the comments, and thanks for watching.